What is up, you guys? Taylor checking in for the recap of UFC Paris. We're coming off another profitable event. We did pretty well on this card. We just had two official plays locked in. For those of you guys that were keeping up with me in IG, we had the big 6-unit play, and then we had a 1.5 unit underdog stab. We'll talk about that play here as well. But again, I'm just happy that we're stringing off these profitable events, man. That's what it's all about. It feels great. We're bringing in a lot of money. And just to let you guys know right now, UFC 293, the prediction video for that card will be uploaded by tonight. It will be uploaded by Sunday night, and you guys could definitely expect another profitable night for that event, man. I'm very, very hyped up, and I love the spots that I'm targeting for that card. Just saying. All right, guys. So, with that all being said, let's go recap this this Paris card.
Welcome to the show. This is the MMA fortune teller. Yeah.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.
Now, I will say, overall, we picked this card pretty accurately. We did pretty good with our overall picks. I know I didn't get the main event right, which, again, we'll finish this video off talking about that fight. But overall, we did pick a lot of these fights correctly. In the first fight, we had Jacqueline Cavalcanti taking on Zarah Farin. That has to be the last time that we see Zarah Farin in the octagon. She's, 40 years old now. But you know what? I won't sit here on the mic and I won't disrespect her. I'm happy for her. She got to have probably her retirement fight in her home country. And you know what? Say what you will about her. She did look very stiff, looked like a living scarecrow out there in the cage. But at least she was going forward and she was trying to bring the fight. I'll say that much. Jacqueline, a very talented striker, just as we talked about. A little bit timid early on in that fight. And she does show some promise, and she's young, and she has a lot more to learn. But I think that she has some momentum coming off this fight. I think that she has some potential, so we'll keep an eye on her. And remember now, they weighed in at 140 pounds for this fight. So, but I do expect Cavalcante to be, a legitimate fighter in the bantamweight division moving forward. Farid Basharat pulls off the arm triangle choke on Kleidson Rodriguez. You guys know we were on Basharat as well, but I was a little bit questioning the money line, the betting line where it was. Basharat was a big favorite. I guess you can sit there and say the line was accurate. I mean, he got Kleidson out of there in the first round. Kleidson made some mistakes and, allowed that fight to play out down on the mat way too much. You saw the explosive ability that he had for the limited amount of time when the fight was standing. And I thought that he should have looked to separate a lot more and should have looked to use his footwork and set up his shots more so. I think he's a dangerous striker in the bantamweight division. I think he's a dangerous fighter. And I think that was just a product of him facing off with a very, very good fighter. You guys know I'm very high on both the Basharat brothers. You heard the telecast team talking about it. It's something I've been saying from the moment I was breaking down tape on them. They are just very, very well-rounded and complete fighters. They do everything so well. And, he was just a little bit too much for Rodriguez. So, were any of you guys targeting that high line? Were you parlaying it? I stayed away from that fight. All right, now here, this was one of the fights that we did not pick correctly, but I'm going to sit here, man, on my chair. I'm going to sit here on my high horse and say this was another fight I did predict correctly because no action on this fight, but Jocelyn Edwards should have won every round in that fight, in my opinion, okay? I had a little post in my story about it on Instagram at MMA Fortune Teller _. A lot of people agreed with me. I got an overwhelming amount of comments of people that were very disappointed with the judging there. Nora Cornoli, this was a girl that obviously was representing France, fighting in her hometown. She was trying to land damaging blows and whatnot, but I mean, she spent way too much time on her back. She was pressed against the cage, and I thought that Jocelyn just controlled the pace of the fight. And really, if you take emotions out of the fight and you're just sitting back and you're analyzing the fight, you have to give Jocelyn Edwards at least 2 of the 3 rounds. So, it's just unfortunate. When I see those types of decisions, I think it's unfortunate. Very unfortunate for Edwards. She would have continued her win streak, and it's just, I don't like to see those types of things. All right, now, this was my big play. If you guys haven't seen the video I posted on IG, as you guys can see, I'm a little rusty on the mic right now. My brain's all blurry, man, from a long day yesterday. Obviously, we started drinking nice and early with the card taking place very early here in the States. But you guys can check out a pretty cool video, and you guys can expect more of those types of videos on my IG where you got me watching the fights. And you know what? I'll even start to do some Instagram live videos of me, in the in the man cave in the lab watching the fights when I got big action on some of those fights. So obviously Angelo was my big 6-unit play. I grabbed him as high as -170. The line even dipped to -150 the morning of the fight, and I threw more money on him. So I was very, very happy to cash in on that play. It brought in a lot of money for me, and I just felt that Angelo has been looking really good. Coming off the win that he just had in his last fight coming into this, I thought that was the best version we've ever seen of him. I saw the way he was looking on the scales, and he looked to be in phenomenal shape for this fight. I thought he was going to get the better of McKee on the feet with the striking. I thought he would possess more power and just go in there and bully McKee. We even had some question marks on McKee's grappling. I mean, obviously, Combs, that's a different animal, but the way he ragdolled him, and there's a couple other fights, right? Morono had some takedowns on McKee, and McKee's most previous UFC fight. I was willing to go in on this play, and I almost made it an 8-unit max play. I did hesitate there, dropped it to 6, but he you know what? And real quick, let me just say, McKee is a very, very tough fighter, and the way that he dug deep in the third round, that was very respectable. And obviously, he landed some big shots on Lusa at the end of that fight. But 30-27 Lusa dominates that fight, butchers his face up. But yes, he did slip on that banana peel in the third round and got teed off on a little bit there. And I was going crazy. I was stressing out. All right. Taylor Lapilus takes out the new Irish fighter here, Loughran. Loughran, flipping everybody off at the weigh-ins and whatnot. I like that type of energy, but if you're gonna come out with that type of energy and going against the fans and whatnot, you got to bring the fight a little bit more. A lot of hanging on, Lapilus pushing up against the cage. I'm sure everybody would have agreed with me. We had Lapilus here. Now this fight was put together at the right before this card took place. Right, we had some movement here. I hope you guys all know that I was on Lapilus. You guys know that. I'm sure you guys would agree with me there. We were all on Lapilus. Lapilus is a good fighter. Fought in the UFC a while ago. He's been putting in work outside the octagon. Gets his opportunity here. He's very quick. He's a good fighter. And, he goes out there and gets the decision. Morgan Shari takes out Manolo Zaccini and finishes him there in the first round with the body kicks. And Morgan, that was a high line next to his name, but we were on him as well. I wasn't really willing to attack that tag there. It was a little too high for me, but all signs were pointing to him being the more proven fighter and the more polished striker. William Gomis takes out his fellow countryman Yanis Gamori, 2 Frenchmen here, finishes him with the body kick. You guys know that we've been very high in Gomis as well. I think that he really has the potential to represent French mixed martial arts, to be one of the guys towards the top of the heap representing the country. He's a very, very talented fighter. I like watching him fight as well. All right. And then we had, this was one of the few fights that we picked incorrectly here. Bogdan Guskov. I did not have any official action on him. There's no way I could have done that. I mean, I like the fight ending ability that he's shown outside the octagon, but his resume was so padded. But you know what? I was willing to pick him based on the fact that I had a feeling maybe that the young blood would have came in, landed some big shots on the old veteran there in Volkan Ozdemir, but Volkan Ozdemir was just way too game, way too polished. He ends up getting the rear naked choke, and in retrospect, obviously I probably should have been on Volkan, but you can't always pick favorites, even though every favorite came through on this card. I know a lot of you guys give me a hard time when I hammer in on these favorites. I could have took the easy route there and just picked Volkan, but sometimes you gotta. Maybe I was giving this guy Bogdan a chance, and again, it was mostly based off the fact that he had some impressive finishes, but against lower level competition, I thought he could have, jumped into the UFC, and sometimes we've seen that in the light heavyweight division specifically. Some of these newcomers come in and they instantly translate that fight ending ability, but he wasn't he was not one of those guys, to say the least. All right, Benoit Saint Denis, he finishes Thiago Moises with the ground and pound. This was a play that I should have been on. Especially early on, I should have grabbed the money line when it was nice and low, almost even odds, and a lot of action came in on BSD throughout this week, and I think I seen him as high as a -205 by the time the fight was taking place, and I understand it, man. He's really proven to be a well-rounded and extremely tough and durable fighter, and just goes out there and sledgehammers these guys. Thiago Moises, I was a little worried that Moises could have maybe used his BJJ skills to maybe snag the backup, but in all reality, this was BSD's fight, and I should have bet on it. Of course, I picked him to win the fight. I did pick him, but no official action, and I did regret that. Then I also did regret not having official action on Menin Farot. I know I don't say her name the best, but whatever. I know I don't put that little French twang on it, but Manin is a fighter you guys know I've been very high on, and I did have her taking out Denis and Namajunas. I had her winning that fight, And she did. She went in there and got the job done. Rose looked good at times, though. Rose bloodied her up. But, you know, I wasn't crazy about the high money line, almost 2-1 odds on Manin. And in retrospect, I probably should have just grabbed her when I saw it right around that minus 185 range. I should have just threw some money on it, but I didn't. But again, I hit my big Lusa fight. I narrowed in on that play. And like I said, I have some big plays coming up for UFC 293. So I was kind of really, you know, putting some stuff together for that card, and I wanted to make sure I walked out of this card with some profits, and that's why I took a small stab on Sergey Spivak. I had a 1.5 unit small underdog stab on Sergey Spivak. I got some stuff to say about this fight. Let me tell you. All right, I got him at plus 145. You know, I saw him as high as a plus 155 dog. Listen, Cyril Gane, I don't want to take anything away from him because he looked great, and for that one takedown attempt that was thrown his way, his footwork looked great, and he got out of the way, threw a little knee there, and made him pay. Okay, I understand he looked good for that brief moment there. But for any of you guys that are going to sit out there on Instagram, I've been going back and forth with some of you guys, and you're going to say, oh, Gane just went back to the drawing board, sharpened up his takedown defense, and Sergey Spivak had no chance to get him down. I'm sorry, man. I disagree with you guys. I thought that Sergey Spivak fought a horrible fight. I thought that he deserved, I wish he would have got starched flatline because he fought a disgusting fight. He was sitting out there in slow motion, just playing pitter-patter striking with a guy that does that better than anybody. What are you doing? Make it ugly. Go in. You might have to take a couple big shots and go in for the clinch. Hang on him. Hang on his hips. Push him against the cage. Try to grab some legs. Try to get him down to the mat. I mean, even if you take a lot of damage doing that coming in, which that could have been the case. I'm not going to say that couldn't have been the case, but you're going to take more damage if you just play around on the outside against a guy like Gane anyway. So what are you doing there? What are you doing? You're going to get butchered up. You're going to get finished. You might as well go out on your shield and have a greater chance to win this fight because we really don't know. I'll still sit here and say I don't know. If Spivak would have went out there, you know, like a Dagestani fighter went out there and went across the cage and started shooting and pushing and ripping for takedowns nonstop, shooting in for those takedowns. I don't know, man. I still feel like he could have got those takedowns. I don't know. But we'll never know. I don't know what was up with that fight. That was a weird fight, man. All right. So again, I'm sorry for any of you guys that want to say, "Oh yeah, Gane just looked so great," and Spivak had no chance. Can you guys just not be biased for a second and just kind of say what the hell was Spivak doing out there? I know you guys have to agree with me on that. Like, what the hell was he doing out there? He literally was just like circling the outside of the cage. I mean, I get it. You're taking shots. Listen, I know what it's like to fight, man. Okay. You know, I've done some training, man. I've done some heavy sparring. I know what it's like when you have to close the distance and the person is landing big shots on you when you're coming in. I know that feeling. I understand it's intimidating. And obviously I've never been across, you know, a mammoth guy like Cyril Gane with that type of striking, but come on, man. You know, Spivak was talking a big game, like in the sense of saying that he doesn't talk a big game and that he's going to put all of his words or whatnot in the cage, right? He's going to show it with his actions, right? And in a way, that was him talking a big game. He didn't do nothing in the cage. He did no speaking with his actions in the cage. All right, so whatever. Small 1.5 unit loss, doesn't matter. We hit that big 6 unit play on Lusa, and it was another profitable event. Hope all you guys did great out there. I'm hyped up. The coffee is just getting me going right now, and I'm about to go hop on the mic and go talk some UFC 293. So again, I hope all you guys did well in this card, and we got a big week coming up, man. Go catch me on my other video. Signing out. Teller.
Welcome to the show. This the MMA fortune teller. Yeah.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.